We're going to focus on Chelsea now for the minute. Chelsea boss Mauricio Pochettino says he understands the anger of the club's supporters as they endure an inconsistent season. Some fans chanted for the Argentine to leave the club during their 2-2 Premier League draw against Brentford last weekend. Pochettino admits he'd feel the same if he were in their shoes.
It's nothing to complain, nothing to say, and we completely understand the situation and, of course, the frustration, and we need to accept the criticize, and we need to accept in the way that they behave. That is the most important thing, is to accept. Of course, we need our fans, and hope Monday the fans will be great and be behind us and helping the team during 90 minutes to win the game. That is so important for our player. But in your question, I think we need to accept. We need to accept that this football, they are frustrated, and maybe if I was a fan, I was on the stand, I behave the same than them, because it's Chelsea, because we are not matching the expectation, and that is why they react in this way. We need to accept, and yes, we need to be responsible of our performance, and yes, we need to work really hard to try to improve and win games.
Rory, have you got any sympathy for your old pal Mauricio Pochettino?
No, not really. I don't think he's done anything to ingratiate himself in Chelsea culture. I don't think he's done any favours to anyone since he's come to the club. I think if you think about how he's conducted himself since he's arrived, nothing that he's done has been designed to build unity between him and the fans. The disparity between fans, players, ownership, manager at Chelsea has arguably never been greater. And his responsibility is to fill that void. His responsibility is to create a relationship. His responsibility is to make sure that everybody at the club, from the top down, is singing from the same hymn sheet. But nothing he has done has been to that end. Nothing. Literally nothing. Like, the geezer has never clapped a fan. Not once, Harry. He hasn't come on the pitch after a game and shown any appreciation for the fans. I'll tell you what he has done, though. He's come on the pitch after the game and he's sought out anyone who used to play for Tottenham under him, give them a big cuddle. He's told us that he wishes he was Tottenham manager. He's told us that he can't wait to be Tottenham manager again, on the eve of us playing them, by the way. And at the time, they were doing really well. At the time, they'd played 10, 1, 8? On the eve of that game, he's going, one day I'll be back here.
I think, I don't know, looking at it from my perspective, I agree with you that some of his interviews, some of his press conferences, I think he could have handled them a little bit differently. And I think if he had, and said certain things and, acknowledged certain issues, then maybe there'd be a kind of warmer feeling towards him from Chelsea fans. But what else could he have done? Because the whole not going and applauding the fans thing, it sounds a little bit petty to me.
No, it is. But that's what football is, isn't it? Football is irrational. But showing appreciation, if you're the manager and you show appreciation to the travelling support, that will go a long way. If you're a player and you show appreciation to the travelling support, it will go a long way.
But you're talking about a group of 3,000 or 4,000 away supporters. But there isn't that warmth towards Mauricio Pochettino from anybody associated with Chelsea.
No, do you know what? And I wasn't part of this, and I don't necessarily agree with it. But Mauricio Pochettino was warmly welcomed. Perhaps he shouldn't have been. I wasn't particularly warm on him. I did my best to convince myself that it was a good appointment and he was Chelsea manager. But the man is the genuine personification of Tottenham Hotspur, isn't he? Like, if I would say to you, in terms of like people around now, so in terms of like players or managers or anybody actually that is currently alive, who would you say is the current personification of Tottenham Hotspur? If you were to say I would say name 3. I think Pochettino is certainly one. You might say Harry Kane, regardless of who you'd say, right? I think Pochettino is in that. So he should probably have never been given the Chelsea job anyway. But the fact that he was, I don't know if it's either to Chelsea fans' credit or to Chelsea fans' embarrassment that he was actually given a bit of a pass. And it was his responsibility to make the most of that. His responsibility to demonstrate a love for us and not talk about Tottenham, cuddle Tottenham former players, tell us that he likes the idea of managing Tottenham once more. It's astonishing quite how unaware, if it is unaware, he has been, or quite how unaffected he's been by Chelsea.
But I don't really understand why you're taking so much issue with him having affection for a former club. Declan Rice talks about his love for West Ham United every week.
Declan Rice is doing a business for Arsenal every week.
So it's as simple as that then. It's down to, if you're producing, it doesn't matter what you say, or you have greater leeway if you perform in a certain way?
All of the above, but also crucially this. If Declan Rice acknowledges who West Ham United are and what West Ham United did for him,
yep,
you know that what he's doing is he's appreciating the past whilst fully committing himself to the present. He puts in brilliant performances. You know that his heart is at Arsenal. You've seen the way he celebrates goals at Arsenal. You know that he is integral to everything good that is happening under Mikel Arteta. You can never doubt Declan Rice's commitment. So when he talks about maybe West Ham United and what they mean to him, it's almost irrelevant because the here and now, he is Arsenal. He represents Arsenal perfectly.
So you're doubting Mauricio Pochettino's commitment?
Mauricio Pochettino don't like Chelsea. He clearly doesn't like Chelsea.
So why did he take the job?
Money is king. Money is king.
So
it's like that OJ song.
So you don't believe that Mauricio Pochettino has any drive to succeed at Chelsea outside of the financial reward?
Outside of the professional reward and the financial reward. I think the self-gratification that I think his career needs as well. Because let's face it, he has a distinctly average track record. He's a distinctly average manager who's given a free pass by the press. So I think the reasons, in terms of if you were to explore the metrics that motivate Pochettino, none of them is for the furtherance and success of Chelsea Football Club. I think it's to demonstrate that he's actually a good manager rather than being distinctly average.
Can't you say that of most managers, though?
No, potentially, but I think a lot of managers want to succeed because of their love for the club. I think if you use Jurgen Klopp as an example, Klopp wants to succeed for many reasons, and I'm sure finances is part of that. But that man loves Liverpool, and everything that he has done since he arrived at Liverpool, even when he was derided and laughed at by maybe you and I, when they were celebrating draws against West Brom, when he comes on the pitch and does his fist bump, what's the point? If you were to try and fathom a reason as to why Jurgen Klopp does that fist bump in front of the Kop, why does he do it? It's to build unity. So you may laugh, people may laugh, but the point isn't them. The point is the fans. It brings everyone on side, everyone's united, everyone is pulling in the same direction, and that's why he can bring in these kids and they're all magnificent.
Did Jose Mourinho love Chelsea?
Yeah.
So why did he manage Spurs and Manchester United?
Jose, but again,
for his own game, right?
But if we were to play the game, when I said Mauricio Pochettino is the personification of Tottenham, regardless of who he manages, he's the personification of Tottenham. If I were to say to you, who does Jose Mourinho represent? I think you'd say Chelsea. I think he is Chelsea. I think Jose Mourinho, despite stints a lot of clubs, I think he is Chelsea, and I'd love him back. I really would. I would love him back. I think there are very few people that could unite Stamford Bridge. And when I say very few, I think there's probably one, and it is Jose Mourinho. But you know what
would happen with Jose Mourinho? It'd be great for 4, 5, 6 months, and then you'd end up back in a position where you're like, oh my God, this is dreadful to watch because the game has passed Jose Mourinho by. That's the reality of the situation, and you'd be calling for someone else.
See, I don't agree with that, by the way. I don't agree with that, Harry. I think it's quite sneery to say like the game has passed him by. I think you could easily argue that Jose.
Where is he now?
I mean, Jose Mourinho, his last 4 jobs, people will say, well, he got sacked from his last 4. So at those 4, 3 of them he won silverware. One of them was Tottenham.
I don't have a problem with the fact that he's been sacked. Every manager gets sacked at some point in their career. That's not the issue for me. The issue is that the level of jobs that he's been given, there's been a decline.
Everywhere he's been is a success. Even recently, even Roma.
Was he a success at Tottenham?
No, but whose fault was that? They sacked him on the eve of a cup final.
You think he would have won the cup final?
Ryan Mason lost it 1-0. So maybe. I think you have half a chance. I'll tell you what, if Chelsea had sacked Pochettino and we should have done, Chelsea would have won the Carabao Cup. I honestly think that. There's no way that a Jose Mourinho team loses to Liverpool's D team.
You take Mourinho back. Would you take Kai Havertz or Jorginho back? You could do with a couple of informed players at the minute.
They are. I mean, I've seen the interesting thing. You and I have gone back and forward on Kai Havertz, Harry. It's an interesting debate that you and I have regarding him, because I think the truth probably lies somewhere between what we both see. What I will say is, in the month of March, I've seen Kai Havertz often have a purple patch. I've seen him often play very well in a month of March, and it almost invariably peters out. So yeah, he's playing very well at the moment, and I do concede that he is playing very well. Like I did a video on my channel where I had no option but to give him credit, because I think the way that Arsenal were defending so valiantly is partly due to the press from players like Kai Havertz doing very well. But this isn't what the transfer was supposed to be. Like, at the moment, we'll find out. One of us is going to be proved right. It isn't about, is Kai Havertz a good midfielder doing well at the moment? It's about, is Kai Havertz a midfielder that is ultimately going to be integral to Arsenal winning the Premier League title or the European Cup? I don't think he is. And I actually think that he could be detrimental to that, because the 70-odd million quid that was spent on him, if it was spent on a better player, could see you over the line. Whereas I think that you'll get close to the line, but will ultimately fall short, as you so often do.
I don't need to say anything else on him. His form it speaks for itself. Jorginho's form as well. Haven't you seen sort of since the kind of cup final and subsequent draw with Brentford, have you seen a change in the way that Chelsea fans generally are viewing Pochettino? Because the cup final was a little bit embarrassing, let's be honest. I know Liverpool are a great side, but you look at the players they had on the pitch at the end, it was pretty embarrassing from a Chelsea perspective. Have you seen the general opinion? I know you've gone quite early on this, but has the general opinion changed on Poch since
there was one good thing that happened at the G-Tech in Brentford. One good thing. You know, we had a terrible, pitiful draw against a team in woeful form, against a team that are fairly inconsequential and not very good. The one good thing that happened that day in that 2-2 draw, I knew that day, the second the referee blew the full-time whistle, I knew that it was over for Pochettino. Whether it's over in the next week or the next 2 weeks or the next month or even at the end of the season, it is over, because as a man who travels home and away with Arsenal, you will empathise with this, I believe. Once you've lost the away fans, you know, the loudest song that day was a profane song regarding Mauricio Pochettino. The loudest song in the whole stadium that day was saying goodbye to Mauricio.
If that's what he's getting from the away fans,
it means it's over. There's no return.
Fine, it might mean it's over, but does that then excuse him for not being as warm to the fans as you'd like? Because if I was standing on a football pitch having 3,000 of what is supposed to be my most loyal and hardcore support singing those kind of things at me, I don't think I'd be able to sit in a press conference and say, oh, what a wonderful bunch they all are.
No, but it's important to explore why they were singing that. Why were they singing that? They were singing that because he's been in the job since June, and not once has he done anything to acknowledge Chelsea Football Club. Like, for example, Antonio Conte came into Chelsea. Do you know what was the first photograph that went round regarding Antonio Conte as the new Chelsea manager? It was a photo of Antonio Conte looking up at the Peter Osgood statue. The statue outside the West Stand, there's a brilliant high statue. And the first photo that we saw, I'm sure it was PR'd, but the first photo that we saw was Antonio Conte looking up at the Peter Osgood statue. That is an acknowledgement of the past, an acknowledgement of the club. Peter Osgood is seen by many as Chelsea's greatest and most important player. His ashes are buried under the penalty spot at the shed end. And Antonio Conte immersed himself in that moment in the culture of Chelsea. Antonio Conte has done nothing but turn his back on everything that is Chelsea Football Club.
This summer, we know that Liverpool, Bayern, Barcelona will all be looking for new managers. Strong chance that Man United will be too, and a strong chance that Chelsea will be too. Do you think there's going to be quite the managerial scramble come the summer?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be wild, isn't it? It's going to be wild. The thing with Chelsea is I just don't know where we go from here.
Yeah,
because I think that we are so rudderless in terms of the people pulling the strings, in terms of our ownership. It's shambolic. So I really do have no idea where we go. I imagine that the standard MO is to raid Brighton. I mean, we've done it. We might as well have. They might as well have bought Brighton.
You're going and raiding Brighton, but you're overpaying for players. And we've heard today that Chelsea have lost another 90-odd million quid, which it doesn't bode well when we're talking about the PSR stuff.